What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jonathan from Calling in Favors. We're over here at the driving range again. We're going to work on some things, but mostly we're going to talk about tournaments, right? You just watched a great U.S. Open. Bryson and Rory battling down to the end. A couple things to clean up on that one, right? Rory, 497 for 497 inside 4 feet on the PGA Tour this year, and then misses two in a row. But some of the things that I've heard about Bryson on 18 was why didn't he let whatchamacallit, Pavon putt first and clear the stage? There's two reasons. One, he was on the same line. It's not really fair to Rory if Bryson gets a look first. But two, on the same line as Rory, thinking about missing the one on 15 on 18, does Bryson really want to get up and take a 4-foot slider to win the U.S. Open after watching a guy miss one on the same line 30 seconds before he hits it? No. So he made the right call by letting Pavon hold it. It just is what it is. It's kind of one of those things. It sucks. 99 out of 100 times you're going to let him finish out and clear the stage. But in that situation, I think Bryson did the right thing. Get over it, get up. No thoughts about somebody missing it in front of you. Make the putt. Even with the crowd going nuts, Pavon was still able to finish his, no issues. So I wouldn't think anything of it. It's crazy the beating Rory's taking about leaving. I get it. I understand it. It's kind of poor sportsmanship, but you got to understand these guys are grinding. This is their livelihood. For 4 straight days in 100-degree heat, he grinded over everything and lost by one at the end by missing a 4-footer. It's got to be deflating. You can't really blame him for wanting to get out of Dodge, right? It sucks. If they interview him and he's in a bad mood, they'll kill him for saying the wrong thing and being in a bad mood. If he doesn't take the interview and he just leaves, then he's kind of a sore sport. So I'd give Rory a pass on this one. That's a tough way to lose. A couple other things too. The guy that I thought hit the ball the best all day was Patrick Cantlay. He just couldn't make a thing, man. He had it in there 6-10 feet all day and didn't make anything. Just couldn't get back in the fight. So it is championship golf, right? Every putt matters, every inch matters. And these guys are grinding, and that's their mindset. I think I've said it a few times, and we're going to get into it a little bit, but I think the hit and giggle attitude has kind of ruined tournament golf a little bit. There's 3 different levels of tournaments, right? There's championships, right? The U.S. Open, that's a championship. Those guys are grinding for their livelihood. Even the amateurs, you see that kid Shipley, first to win low amateur at the Masters and U.S. Open in years, right? So it's a big deal for those guys. Those guys are grinding their ass off leading up to it. They're grinding their ass off pre-round, post-round. It's a grind. So those are championships. Those are the things that you're going to take to heart. You're going to grind. It's a sport. Then you get to the next level, tournaments, right? They're just as big for a lot of people. That's kind of the only championships that a lot of amateurs and club level players will ever be able to play in, right? They're not good enough to qualify for their state opens and state AMs, but they're a good enough player where they can play club events, enjoy themselves, have some fun, and at the end of the day, kind of keep those competitive juices flowing. Growing up around here, that was kind of the thing. It was no hit and giggles. In the early 90s, it was tournaments. Clubs played tournaments. That was it. And it was a huge schedule. You had Resi, you had the Whale, you had Hawthorne, you had Allendale, you had New Bedford. You had all these clubs hosting member guests and tournaments, and there was plenty of opportunities to grind, and play competitive golf. And then all of a sudden, member guests started taking over, like one-day member guests, and all of the fun things that went into those events started making their way into the big events, and it kind of watered things down. Prices started to rise. Instead of paying for golf, you were paying for golf, food, tea gifts, music, events, entertainment, and all of that. And at the end of the day, it kind of started to get away from golf. And unfortunately, that's kind of the mindset of today's golfer. they don't have to grind to get better. You don't. You can play whatever event you want with handicaps now. And I'm not saying handicaps are a bad thing, but I think we've gotten too comfortable with saying, I'm a 12, I'll just go play golf, and it is what it is, rather than say, I'm a 12, I want to get to a 5, and guys will say it, but they're not going to put the work in. And I get it. People got jobs, they got time, they got things they have to do, but, don't penalize the good players because you guys don't take it as serious as they do, right? And unfortunately, that started making its way into everyday events, and before you knew it, 25 to 30 under started winning events because handicaps are so crooked. And then you get guys setting up the golf course saying, oh, we got to protect par, but all you're doing is fucking the low handicaps. When a 10 handicap who's solid enough to shoot high 70s, low 80s can just hit it to the middle of the green and 2-putt for net birdie all day to a pin that's tucked in a corner, they have a huge advantage over a scratch or a 4 or 5 handicap that's not getting any shots. So it got to the point where the good players were like, fuck this, I'm not playing it anymore. I'm not going to spend all that money to go get my head bashed in. And they started creating other, gross events. Down here in the South Coast, we got a couple. We got the Gilhome Cup in the fall, and we have the South Coast 4-ball in the spring, right? So, but you see a bunch of them. You see the Norfolk County Classic, the Taunton 4-ball, the Rockland 4-ball. There's enough scratch golf now where if you're that type of player, you can go play it, and you don't have to play the club events, and that's why the club events are struggling. It was a season down here, and it sucks because you started out Memorial Day weekend at Resi, and then the following weekend was Resi as well. It was 6 rounds, and it was all about golf. Match play, 18 holes, and you played to a winner. And then from there, your next event was the Hawthorne 4-ball, and and then it was 4th of July at New Bedford. Then it was the Whale 4-ball. Then it was the New Bedford 4-ball, the Allendale 4-ball, and then it finished with Resi days in the spring. And it was great. They all had Calcuttas. There was money involved. But again, it got to a point getting stuck underneath again. I'm in that old habit. I haven't hit balls in about a week, and I can already feel it. So that's the struggle with putting in a swing change. But what I was saying was there was money involved, and unfortunately, money creates cheaters. And this generation of golf course runners, the board, the tournament chairmen, club presidents, didn't care about shit like that. All they cared about was the party and the food, and we got to throw on the biggest event to go, and because of it, golf kind of got watered down. Now, with COVID, it's only getting worse. Because not only do the new golfers not know, they don't care. So you're going to go on and on and on. Busting Rory's ball is about tradition and about respect and about not leaving after losing, but yet you're going to have hats backwards, shirts untucked, music blasting. You don't care either. So why are you beating Rory up about respect when you don't respect the games yourself? So again, it's different. The difference between playing a tournament and playing a hit and giggle is care, right? If you're playing a tournament and you don't care, why waste your money? There are enough hit and giggles around to fill your schedule with that. One-day member guests. And the guys that take serious one-day member guests kind of crack me up, right? It's all about the food, the party, and all this, but they're like, ooh, gear up, and I get nervous. Dude, a one-day member guest for me is a hit and giggle. It's not a tournament. It's about the food and the party and the dinner afterwards, right? We're going to spend money that day unless you're bleeding us dry and nickel and diming us, right? You see all these tournaments, including food, and it's because everybody has such a good day at all these one-day member guests. But what people don't realize is it drives the cost. And a lot of the golfers, You know, the guys that are going to play those 3 and 4 and 5 day events, and their spouses get it and they support it. They don't care about all that stuff, especially pre-round food. You know, the last thing I want to do before I play a round of golf in August in 100-degree heat is eat a big meal, right? They care about golf. And if golf is good and the field is full, the bar and everything else takes care of itself, right? If you get people on property having a good time, they're going to spend money. You know, too often member guests at clubs have now been like, what do we owe those people? And why should we give them a discount? Why? Because it's your free commercial. That's what a Monday member guest is. A free commercial. You put on the lipstick on the pig. You know, you double cut the greens and you dry them out and all those things, and you get the golf course good so that way you promote that dream. You want the guests that are there for the day to say, man, I got 4 guys that I would love to bring to this event. Then your member starts talking. You know, it's not that expensive when you think about it. You know, how often do you play public golf? You know, a couple times a week. All right, well, you're already spending $3 or $4 grand on public golf. Come and join this club. It's a couple more grand and you get access to all these tournaments. And that's what it is. It's a commercial. It's not a tournament. Too many clubs are looking at one-day member guests as money makers and tournaments, and they're not. They're Monday outings, but for your members, right? But with that one little next level up. So if you're charging guest fees and nickel and diming food and overcharging for events, you're going to have no participation, right? You know, there's a club locally that I used to be a member at that I would bring a group to a member guest every time they had one, right? It wasn't about golf. It was about the day. It was about having fun. And you know what? When the dinner was dinner and it was good, we showed up early and we paid for lunch. So guys will spend more money if they perceive value in what they're spending money on. And if you're overcharging for member guests and having a limited field, you're costing yourselves money and you're wasting a huge marketing and advertising opportunity, right? There is no better advertisement for a golf course than having golfers on a good condition golf course. You know, when we first started having the member guests at Harmon, they had never had it. And, you know, I was like, screw it. Let's do it on a Monday. If you're that worried about tying the tee up, let's go on a Monday and we'll do it. We had a full field for every member guest, and it was awesome. It was fun. And we definitely got some members out of it. It made it worth it. But you want to sell that dream. You want them to sit in the bar and eat that steak and order those bottles of wine and have a good time. So that way, when they go home to the wife and they say, I'm thinking about joining, the wife says, you know, it's a lot of money. Honey, instead of going to the Black Whale or into Boston for dinner or Providence or something, why don't we join the club? We can go there for dinner. Man, you should see that steak I just had at that member guest, right? That's what it is. It's a marketing opportunity. You do hit the green, double your money. You're going to get residual sales, right? Guys go up there, you're like, I'll do $25. And then they hit the green and they get $50, right? What are you going to buy in a golf shop for $50? Not much. You're probably going to find a shirt for $75 and throw an extra $25 on top, right? So there's money to be made, but the event is not the moneymaker. It's the plus. It's the after effects. It's the members that join because of it, right? Conditions of the golf course matters, and the party and the way you sell it, the way you sell yourself matters. You know, no, not every club is going to be the same, and yes, different clubs are going to have different priorities, right? You think the Bay Club is going to have the same priorities on golf as Thorny Lee does? Of course not, right? They're going to have different levels of expectations, and tournaments are going to have different levels of seriousness. But most clubs usually have 1 or 2 serious events. You know, the club championship, and usually the other one is like a multi-day member guest. You know, the big clubs and the golf first clubs are probably going to add a member into that mix as well. You know, I know you've heard me talk about the board events. they're the ones that when you win that event, it goes on the trophy in the wall. And most of those trophies are either in the locker room or the grill room where it's accessible for everybody to see for years on end, right? Those are the tournaments that the party is there after the event, but during the event, you want to play golf. And unfortunately, that line, kind of like apparel, has gotten very blurry. See, we're in some bad habits. I'm hitting it solid. I'm still hitting the center, but we're back to my old habit of this, and the face is open. So I got to get back more to cover, and time to hit some duck hooks on purpose. But again, I'm out here today just kind of chatting you up, just kind of talking tournaments, right? If you're not serious about tournaments, don't ruin it for the guys that are. That's the conversation I have in my DMs constantly with guys is, played a member guest this weekend, took a fucking beating from some guy, went off at 12 and shot 78, and it happens. There's guys that are going to do it. But for the most part, if that's happening, I'm guessing your pro and your tournaments and your handicap committees aren't on the right page or even any page. They're not involved. Too many times you see guys come in, run away with an event. Everybody whines about the handicaps, but nobody has the balls to say anything, right? That's the difference between me and most guys. I'll say it. I really don't care. You're a cheater. If your handicap is high, you are stealing from me if I'm in that event. There's clubs around here and throughout the state that have their Calcuttas where 20, 30 grand the first prize. If your handicap's 2 shots high over a 4-round event, that means you're 8 shots ahead of the field before you even start. You may as well come in my pocket, fucking grab my wallet, and take my money. Hell, while you're at it, why don't you come home and kick my dog? Like, it's just so bad. Like, there's no pride in sitting at a table with a trophy in front of you that you won because your handicap was 5 shots too high. There was a Resi Days event a few years back. I was just kind of there. I wasn't playing in it. And the guy was sitting there peacocking at the table. Went off at 7, shot 68, 69, 71, 67. And I said to him, are you proud of that? Is that trophy really yours? Like, is that a big deal? Just tell me you're in it for the money and you just stole it from me. Like, that's, it's, and everybody's like, oh, they're laughing. No, you can't say that. You can't say that to him. It's fun. Why? You say it when he's not around. If you got something to say to somebody, fucking say it. And that's kind of where the rant that I went on the other day was. I kind of lost my shit on Boff the Builder. And the funny part is, he's not even the one over there that I really have a beef with. I could care less about him. He's a dope. He's got no clue how to run a golf course. He should just stick to building skyscrapers. But, he just kind of keeps to himself. It's his Muppet assistant, the car salesman that runs his mouth. He's the guy that I love it. When I challenge guys about talking shit behind my back, and then they go, oh, it's not me. I got no beef with you. I love it. I know who you are. I know what kind of guy you are right then, But it's over and over and over again. You have these same conversations with guys. And finally, when I lose my shit, like I did the other day, it's because I've had that same conversation with 4 or 5 people, and none of those people have the balls to say it themselves. And I just get frustrated, and I end up blowing up. That was the plan the other day with that episode. I wanted to blow up, but I didn't want to blow up talking about Caddyshack. Caddyshack literally is the least of things on my mind right now when it comes to golf. But I keep getting the peanut gallery, It's Puddle Cup season. It's he's soaking it again. It's here we go. It's that time of year, and then it's the pissing contest with the hot dog stand. Fuck, just stay back. It's the pissing contest with the hot dog stand, and spending 20 grand on making the 7th hole look like an island at a parking lot at Market Basket, when all they had to do for free was throw a few handfuls of fescue down and some wildflowers, and you create that same environment and same look for $500 instead of $20,000. You get a club that claims they're poverty ridden. We can't change cups, we can't find help, we can't punch greens. And then you're going to spend 20 grand on trees. Yeah, so of course it's going to crack me up, and I'm going to say something and comment on it because it's all I hear about, right? I got somebody sent me a picture of them putting their hand into a cup that was 3/4 of the way filled with water. Well, why? Because they haven't punched greens in 10 years and there's no sand and their soil composition is mud. So they show you the numbers on how much they water and how much they don't water all they want, but at the end of the day, they're not doing the things they have to do to have a good golf course. And they do all these other projects to kind of take your mind off it, right? Here, look at these trees we just put up. Look at what we're doing on the 7th hole. Look how great this is. Well, was it worth 20 grand? Would you rather have those trees on the 7th hole or knee-high fescue and 20 grand in the bank so that way they can do a bigger golf project? It is what it is, and unfortunately it's ruining golf. Everybody keeps talking about how great a place golf is in. I personally don't think it is. I think it's become the bowling alley. It's the outdoor party now. And for serious golfers that take it serious, that want to play golf, it's becoming fewer and further in between finding a spot to do that, and it sucks. That's why I want to, when these guys ask me to go play away, one of the things I love doing is playing as many events as I can at other clubs. And as I'm doing it, I watch and I look at the things that they're doing and what works, what doesn't work. And you don't think I take this to my clubs and my opinions when I'm talking about these things? It cracks me up, especially down here. Anybody that's come from outside the area laughs at how mismanaged and poorly golf tournaments are run down here. You go up the Boston area, Cape, Rhode Island, all these other places and play these events, and they play golf. And then you come down here and it's almost like a high school phys ed intramurals. It's nobody cares. It's all about the party, and that's because around here not a lot of guys played golf growing up, and now that they're older and they're starting to play, they've forgotten what it feels like to stand on the first tee or run out of the tunnel to play a basketball game, and what it felt like when that ball went up and the whistle went, and get those competitive juices flowing. That's it for us, right? I grew up playing sports my whole life, and this is it. It's one of those things. It's why you started playing golf as a kid. It's something that you can compete in for the rest of your life. And I get it. I'm on the extreme other side. People say I'm angry and grumpy. I'm really not. The rant I went on the other day where I was F-bombing everyone and everything, as soon as I hit stop, I started dying laughing. That shit's funny to me. It's entertainment. It's venting. So all I'm saying, my whole point of this whole episode is to the guys running events, stick to golf first. Keep the bowling alley out of it. There's 1 or 2 weeks a year that golf is serious. It's not a party. If you're playing a one-day member guest, have a blast. You're playing a Monday outing at a public course, let it rip. Blast the music, bring the case of beer, right? But when you're playing a competitive event for money, the party should be an afterthought, and it shouldn't affect cost. It shouldn't affect anything else. It should just be kind of part of what it is. And yes, if you got a guy that's habitually running away with events because of his handicap, say it. Call him on it, right? Call him by name. Don't be a pussy. It's frustrating. You get everybody's a tough guy until people are around, and then they clam up and don't say a word. That's the difference. I do say a word. I don't give a fuck. You don't like me? Take a number and get in line. You're going to hear my opinion, especially if what you're doing is affecting my day. I wish more guys would speak up. And again, like I said, I don't really talk politics or anything like that, but look at the situation we're in this country. It's embarrassing. We're like a third world country. Look at the 2 people that we have running for president, right? That's because too many times guys just never spoke up. If you see something dumb, don't be afraid to tell people it's dumb. And if you are, then I don't want to hear it behind the scenes. That's my biggest pet peeve is guys that bitch and bitch and bitch. And, I'm not going to complain though. It's frustrating. So if you got a complaint, you got something to say it. It's worth it. If it's worth it enough to you to talk to your boys about it, it should be worth it enough to say it out loud. So again, that's kind of what I want to take out of this episode. I'm just over here working on things and kind of banging balls, kind of working on this upright swing a little bit, but we want to rant about some other stuff too. So, all right, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Talk soon. Let's go.